All right, Yevamos Daf Chaf Aleph. Okay, today's daf we begin with a question, specifically about Kohen Gadol. Right, so let's say we know a Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry an almana, but let's say he does yibum for an almana anyway. So he did something he wasn't supposed to. The question is, now this almana has a co-wife. What's the deal with his co-wife? With her co-wife, do we say that because the union was a forbidden one, so the co-wife is still eligible for the Kohen Gadol, or do we say, or for Yibum, or do we say no? Because even though it was a forbidden relationship, it still is enough to make the tzara, the co-wife, exempt. So we really show two sides of the coin. I think it was the machlokes, Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara didn't really say who says what, but the one who says yes, that the tzara is exempt, that's because this concept of aseh, of yibum, is doche los aseh, of a Kohen Gadol not marrying an almana, and so the yibum took into effect, and so the tzara is patur. The one who says no that's according to Reish Lakish's din, which is the only time you can say aseh doche los aseh is when you don't have another out, meaning if you're faced between two inevitables, an aseh and a los aseh, so then you have no choice, you do the aseh and it pushes out the los aseh. But in this case, there's an aseh of doing yibum, but you could also do chalitza, in which case you're satisfying, like you don't need to violate anything. You could do chalitza and you're totally fine. So that's why Reish Lakish would say, in this case, you can't apply aseh doche los aseh, and as a result, the yibum is not valid, and the tzara is still is not patur, is not exempt. So that sort of wraps up the discussion on the Kohen Gadol. Then this sort of opens the door to talk about shnias. So we mentioned it yesterday on yesterday's daf, but now we're really going to drill into it, which is that we know that there are 15 ervas that were raised, that were brought up in the opening Mishnah. However, and those are, deraisa, people that that you're unable to marry. But then there's a whole another list of ervos shnios, which are forbidden unions from a derabanan level. And so on today's daf, before we outline what those are, first we just say what's the source. How do we know from the Torah that they're ervos shnios? So there are four different sources that were provided. The first one is in Vayikra, two are in Vayikra. One of them is Rava, who says, Ki es kol tovos ha'el asu. So all of these grave toevos they did, that implies that they're toevos that are not as, not as strong. And so those refer to the erva shnios. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's from Koheles, because Shlomo says, Ve'ozen mechikar tikein mashalom harbe. That basically Shlomo made handles for the Torah, basically things that you, like as if the Torah was a basket, so he created ways you can hold onto the Torah so it doesn't slip. Those refer to the chumras, specifically regarding the ervas. Rav Oshia says it's from Mishlei, because it says Pereo al tavor bo, shote ma'alim be'avor, which basically means like we're expanding the Torah prohibitions. That one's a little bit more vague, but the last one is Rav Kahana, which is back to Vayikra, which is just Ushmartam is Mishmarti. We need to create safeguards. We need to make sure that the people are not engaging in forbidden relationships, and that's why we added extra ervas in this case. Okay, now in terms of what exactly the erva shnios are, so I wish I had these memorized. Maybe one day I'll come up with a mnemonic for it, but I wrote them down here. This is your paternal grandma, your maternal grandma. There are 8 here, okay? The wife of your father's father. That's, it's still a little bit different than your paternal grandma. The wife of your mother's father, again, not the same as your paternal grandmother. The wife of your father's brother, that's your great aunt. The wife of your father's brother, so from your mother's side, from your father's side, that's 6 if you're counting one at home. Your son's daughter-in-law, that's like your granddaughter-in-law, and your daughter's daughter-in-law. So those are the 8 shnios that are forbidden. There are some that are permitted for you, like your father-in-law's wife, your stepson's wife, and I think there are 2 others at the what the Gemara outlines as being permitted to you, but those 8 ervas that I mentioned are not d'oraisa, but they are 8 additional ervas that came through from the Rabbanan. Okay, so the daf pretty much ends by analyzing 2 cases. One of them is the wife of your mother's maternal brother. Okay, so you're pretty much, this is like your aunt. So do we say that she's a secondary erva or not? So either you might say that she's a shnia because the wife of your father's paternal brother and the wife of your mother's paternal brother, both of those cases are shnias only because there's some sort of father involved, right? Your father's paternal brother and your mother's paternal brother. So because there's a father involved, maybe you could say that that's the reason why it's shnia, but in this case, it's not. Or you could say there's no difference because the wife of your mother's paternal brother or your father's maternal brother, bottom line is they're both your uncle's wife. So maybe you could say it falls in the same category. We end up by saying that Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shila basically brings a proof that says that in any case where he gives a din, Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shila, he says in any case where the woman would be an erva, so if we, like on that same thread, the father's wife or the man's other wife would be a shnia. So for example, if I'm not allowed to marry my aunt, then my aunt's husband's other wife, for example, would be the shnia. So that applies here in this case. Then we end up the daf by saying, okay, that explains that case. What about your wife, the wife of your father? This is so brain teaser, but like your father's father. So the wife of your father's brother, which is like your great aunt, okay, or the wife of your father's sister, okay, also kind of your great aunt. What's the thing with them? We end up saying, a Maimar ends up saying that they're permitted to you. I can't imagine a situation where I would, be set up with my great aunt, my grandfather's brother's wife, but who knows? Always good to know that option is available just in case. Well, that concludes Yevamos Daf Chavalad. Lots of erva shnias, lots to think about, and that will lead us through until tomorrow's daf Yevamos Daf Chav Beis. Have a great day.